Hey everybody, good morning. It's Sunday morning, May 21st, 2017 at this end. It is Sunday morning, sunny day. Once again, the sun is streaming into my office as I face east here in the morning. But I wanted to kick this out, catch up a little bit on the markets, catch up on Trading After Dark effort, the community that we've built. So let's start right into it. I was having some fun on Friday. Those of you who do follow me on Twitter know I have not been very active on that, really not much involved at all for a number of reasons, and started having some fun a little bit again on Friday. If you remember back in prior years, we used to do this. We used to have some fun on Fridays, and I think going forward maybe we'll just do that a little bit. Provides a good opportunity to keep some perspective on the markets, have some fun, maybe provide a little bit of insight. Friday we tweeted quite a bit about the market open, where a large part of the trading community was leaning the wrong way based on various conversations that I had with folks, and it was kind of fun to see and anticipate that. We've talked a lot in the past about how important it is to know what the other player's hand has at the poker table. It's why you see pretty much the same people at the final tables in poker events time after time. And we've talked about this ad infinitum in terms of your hand's important in terms of what you have and the betting size, certainly, how many chips you push in and when you do it. But the real key is knowing what the other guy has and seeing everybody leaning short. We'll talk a little bit about that in terms of what we saw, and it was one of the few times actually where we chose to override one of the key signals that we've been following for quite some time, and that's cumulative delta. Now, what we use, as many of you know, is Charlie Cochran's F6 screen. If you go to the Jelly Speak tab at the top of this site, you'll have access to all of the terms that we use, and there's a little blurb on that toward the bottom. But if you recall, just to touch on that briefly, Friday morning the market was gapping up. I say gapping up. It really wasn't gapping. Markets don't gap except for Sunday night. It was actually trending up nicely overnight. And by the time that the U.S. Regular trading hour session was opening, and when it did open, price was moving up, and Delta was showing some significant weakness. And normally that would be a sign. But it was one of those few times where there was a very strong sense that it was a false signal, that momentum was building and it was coiling, and wow, did that thing just take off. When Delta did turn, it fueled the market. So it was kind of fun to see that. And what I tried to do via Twitter was just kind of remind everybody in somewhat of a fun way that that's what it was all about. And that it's important to know what folks in the other chairs are holding for cards. That's I think when your trading really takes off and you get to that level that few can, where you're able to do that. Now, you're not going to be right all the time, obviously, and it's all about betting right, betting hard when you are right. That's what this business is all about. Ask Soros, ask anybody that knows what they're doing, and that's largely the business. But what fuels the market, of course, is fear of missing out. What fuels it is who's stuck, who's getting hurt the most, and the market's going to move in the direction that hurts the most folks. And that's exactly what happened on Friday. So thanks for your indulgence on that. We may do that. I'm staying pretty much off of social media, other than provide links to these things, and I'm trying to focus on refining and tweaking and sharpening my own game, and that's what it's all about. I want to talk a little bit about the Trading After Dark effort and provide a little bit of an update, because it was important for me to clarify that a little bit. And by the way, we're probably going to be closing this in the near future to additional participants, because after a couple of weeks, what we're finding is that we're starting to coalesce as a really solid group, solid team, and I don't want to lose that. I don't want to dilute from that. I mentioned before that over the 20 plus years that I've been involved in various venues, chat rooms, educational sites, whatever, I've learned that there's a huge double-edged sword to a group environment. And so we've really tried to look at this very carefully in terms of how it's crafted. And if you look at the update to the sheet, which I'll provide a link to in this post, you'll notice I've added a few things. And one of the notes is in bold under objectives, and it says, please note this is not a typical chat room. rather a networking mechanism in the spirit of a virtual trading prop shop for a select group of serious and aggressive traders. And that's an important distinction because, you know, if you are interested or looking at a venue where, you know, you want someone to basically be yakking over the course of the day, or if you're looking for some social feel-good stuff, or if you're looking for, you know, people to post every 2 seconds what they're doing, what I might call diarrhea of the mouth or the keyboard, which you see in a lot of places, or if you're looking for someone to instruct you all day long, that is not what this is about. In terms of education, instruction, we've got the webinars, we've got the Jelly Live program. That's that. This is a networking mechanism to link a group of very serious and like-minded and aggressive traders. And that's an important distinction because it is a link that's pretty much open, I say 24/7, but it's really, as we point out here, Sunday 5 p.m. Eastern Time through Friday 5 p.m. It's open during that whole period, but the intensity, the focus of it is on the evening recaps, on setting the session up for overnight and the next day, and then having that open mic and open chat available over the course of the rest of the time. And we actually took advantage of that during the US RTH session on Thursday, which was MATD, which was textbook, because we felt that the day would be more active than normal, and there was plenty of opportunity there. And that worked well, but that was a bit of a rare instance, and I don't want folks falling in the trap that it's always going to be like that. But we were actually very active. Actually, I was actually in the room for most of the day. This distinction is important, and as I mentioned before, this is not about piling up a ton of people in here. This is about creating an environment where basically we're all sharing in the infrastructure cost, and we're a virtual prop shop. We are a virtual prop shop. Now, there's pluses and minuses to group trading environments. Again, it's very, very important, and many will tell you this, and it is a true comment because I've lived through this. That there's that fine line between having a detrimental group environment and a productive group environment. Because the minute that you introduce the aspect of fear, of apprehension, of uncertainty, just from one individual perhaps, that can infiltrate the entire dynamic. It can certainly affect your trading, which is why trading in a group environment is very tough at best. Mark Douglas will tell you that, George Soros will tell you, all sorts of people will tell you that, and it's a true statement because I've seen it, I've lived it, I've gotten caught in that trap. So we're trying to be very careful in how we create this. It's again intended to be a mechanism where we can all bond in the evening and go over the day, and more importantly, how the day closed. To set up Asia and Europe. We talked a little bit about Friday's U.S. RTH Open, but really the setup was Thursday night, where Thursday night closed in catcher's mitt fashion, landed right on supports after having moved up earlier in the day or early in the afternoon. And then what happened? Asia held, and then Europe. Basically, once Europe had its IB break, initial balance first hour break to the north, confirming the move, that was the trade, and we happened to be active at 4 a.m. In our room, so that worked out well. And unless you were positioning at the end of the day on Thursday, or able to be at the market and trading actively with a Europe confirmation at, I think it was 4 a.m. Eastern time. You were left with having to react to a U.S. market that looked like it was gapping, and then you had to assess what was happening there, and that's where a lot of folks got leaning the wrong way, and so on and so forth. So the focus again at our end is on that U.S. close, the positioning for that, the transition to the Asia and the Europe timeframe, and then eventually U.S. RTH the next day. And last week was for us a good confirmation that of the last many years, where the opportunities to size, the opportunities for easier rhythms, it's not during the U.S. cowboy hours. You will get some good opportunities there certainly, but in my case, certainly 90% plus of my profits over the past 4 years have been during these times and these setups. So. That's the intent. There's a lack of focus, in my opinion, right or wrong. There's a lack of focus on this aspect of the market, and it is driving me silly. So we're trying to do something about that for our own trading. for our own trading as much as anything else. It's somewhat selfish to make sure that we are in a supportive, productive environment focused on that which is most important and clearly most profitable. It goes back to the jellyfish mantra, and shame on me for not adapting to this sooner, where, when the market adapts in terms of when opportunity is, and it's going to continue to ebb and flow over the course of weeks, months, and years, but there's a true trend out there in terms of when these opportunities are, and it seems like few are focusing on that. So, we've talked a lot about this. We've brainstormed in our own group at night, and so we've kind of gotten into a cadence, and one of the reasons where I want to keep the participation down is we've got into a really good cadence, knowing each other, knowing each other's strengths, weaknesses. We've got traders teaming off in smaller groups, as I am with one of our traders, to be a bit of a trading buddy, if you will, pushing each other. So again, the terminology I happen to be using for this is virtual prop shop. I'm excited about it. I'm re-energized, as I hope you can see. And it's going well. We have tweaked the times a bit on Sunday night. We are doing, or not Sunday night, on the weeknights, because we are starting at 6:30 now for the prior day recap and Asia Europe reset. 6:30 p.m. Eastern. We had started doing it 7, but wanted to move that up to free the evening up for folks. So we're doing that 6:30 to 7:15. Market recap. How did the U.S. market close? And start thinking about the transition to Asia and Europe. If you're doing your homework and prep time at 9 a.m. on weekday mornings, it ain't going to work. I don't care if you're part of this or not part of this. That is the absolute wrong time to do it. Okay, much of the opportunity has gone by, and you're having to really guess at various options during the cowboy session. The folks making money during those times are brokers. I want traders to make money. And this is based on actual reality and personal experience. And again, last week was a good time, a good reinforcing point for that. So we got that 6:30 to 7:15. And then 7:15 to 8 o'clock, we've got brainstorming, trader troubleshooting, open discussion. How can we help each other? If there's nothing to talk about, there's nothing to talk about. This is not about filling the time with content. I think our world has gotten too involved with you've got to always be listening to something, reading something, a continual chat stream, or else there's no value. Bullshit. Excuse me. Bullshit. Okay. We talked about the book Deep Work, right? This trading world, in my opinion, has to evolve more into less chatter and more focus and more quality. Okay, so this is not a continual stream. This is a mechanism where, again, we can be linked together and get into that deep thought, deep focus. 6:30 to 7:15, pretty good time to do that, because the U.S. day session has closed. It has reopened, but typically doesn't do a whole lot until the Nikkei opens at 7, and then really when Shanghai opens at 8. And even then, Asia will largely be setting the foundation and providing confirmation for Europe. U.S. big dog, Europe next, and then Asia has some influence, but not as much. So that's why we've constructed it the way we have. And again, I thank you for your indulgence on this bit of a rant. But it's really important for me to let you know what this is intended to be and what it's not intended to be. Again, we've got other educational options which get a lot more in depth in terms of instruction. But this is just tying a finite size group of traders together in a helpful mindset. So, Don, Kim, all you folks, Caroline, I respect, I love you all. I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate your helping refine this over time. We've got some screens and options and triggers and bells and whistles that we're starting to incorporate into our environment. We're able to be linked over the course of the day. So it's all good. And I certainly encourage everybody, no matter how you're trading, whether you're part of this or not part of this, buckle down. Get into that deep thought. Get into that focus. Shut out the world. Having some fun on Twitter, maybe on Fridays, but I pay basically no attention to that. If you're retweeting, if you're commenting at all, I have no clue. I don't look at any of that stuff. It's all about refining the focus, putting social media where it hopefully should be in keeping you on your game. And I think it's a great communication mechanism. I think Facebook, I think Twitter, I think Instagram, I think all that stuff is helpful if used properly. But like anything, there's a double-edged sword. So we probably cross that line at times. Apologize for that when we do, but really have sharpened at this end a focus, which is where Trading After Dark fits in, and where my modification of use of social media comes in. So if I post anything that is not helpful, does not get you thinking in a new way, along a new line that maybe you haven't thought about before, then I should shut up, right? I have to focus on my own trading, and thanks to everybody who's been involved with this effort, continuing to look forward to it. That's it. The markets, MATD on Thursday, morning after trend day. Europe, Asia started right away at Asia. When the U.S. Extended session opened right away after that trend down, what did it do? Popped up. What did Asia do? Every time you hit support, it popped up. Nice oscillations during Asia. Right, tradable because the range was opening up, right? Same thing with Europe, same thing with US RTH, MATD. You make the money on the trend morning after trend days, not on the trend days. Okay, you cannot anticipate a market that's going to move, in the Dow's case, 370 points. You just can't, or 270, whatever it was, right? You can't. But once it does, you have known information from which you can act, right? That you have information. You have the outlier day that happens rarely, that you cannot predict ahead of time. Nobody can. But once it does happen, right, then you have that data, you have that evidence that allows you to trade very, very profitably and with very high degree of confidence the next day. Because, the market's going to be testing, basically testing back and forth at the new level, and you can use, prior day resistance support, all the stuff we've talked about before. So that was good. Friday was great. Options expiration, in the end, provided a little bit of chop. But if you weren't done most of your trading by then, shame on you. The opportunity really came again Thursday night, catcher's mitt entry, Friday's open, or Friday's Europe open, right? And then if you could carve out some money and recognize what was happening in the U.S. session in terms of people being on the wrong side and taking advantage of that, then it was a really tough trade. So whatever your venue is, wherever you trade, whatever you trade, I wish you all a great trading week this coming week. The opportunity is there. It's up to you to take advantage of it. Have the confidence. Shut out the rest of the world. Get focused and have just a wonderful week. And we will see you then. We will see you next week. Those of you in the room, open it up tonight again, 5 o'clock, and first formal session. We'll do the preview tomorrow. We're typically doing a little bit of a Europe preview. I didn't put it in the write up here because it's a little informal this time. But 5-6 a.m. Kind of chat back and forth about Europe. I know some of you guys are trading it because you live in Europe. I don't live in Europe, and I know you're chatting about that. But I'll get in. I'll do a little bit of assessment there, and then we'll do a formal recap after Monday, and set up to have just one hell of a trading week. So I wish that for all of you. Have a great week, and we will see you next time. Bye.